You're out now in your world of recruiting, and you look for these athletes. Do you find, from a position perspective, do you find student athletes are less understanding if you say to them, we see you as a center fielder, even though you're an infielder? Do you find that student athletes have become position specific, are, pitcher only, and not so much a student athlete these days?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a world. I was a two-way player, and I love two-way players, but they hardly exist anymore. And part of it too is college. We've made it so difficult. It's kind of like you look at Otani and you go, "Wow, you can't tell me." Granted, I get how good he is, but you can't tell me over the course of professional baseball that we haven't missed hundreds of two-way guys. Because of, a guy can't do two things. Yeah, he can. If you, all of us grew up, all of us as good players, you grew up a two-way guy to a certain degree. If you had decent arm strength, you definitely were going to pitch at some point in time, and you play, you played a position, and now we've it's really kind of showing my conservatism and old age, I guess. But it's sad to me that kids show up and play on a weekend and at a tournament, and they show up and they throw their 3 innings and they pack up and go home. I mean, I still my friendships and relationships are what the things that have motivated me in life. How can you not be a great teammate? I want to be there. Hell, I don't play. Listen, my wife doesn't even let me play with my grandkids the board games because hell, I want to win. I ain't cutting them no slack, man. It's like, let's go. You're going to learn to compete, and it's just not like that nowadays. I mean, these kids grow up playing games and games and games, and they don't care whether they win or lose. I don't understand. It's one of the hardest things in college to do now is teach accountability. They don't understand that the consequences of not doing this and this means we lose. Then they look at you like, hey guys, if we lose more than 15 games during the regular season next year, we're probably not going to the playoffs. And it's like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? I mean, doesn't everybody go? Doesn't everybody get a trophy? Doesn't everybody get this? They don't understand how finite the failure piece has to be successful, and what it takes to do those things. I just I just don't quite get what we're doing. We have created a business world of baseball. I'm not bashing the travel guys, man. There's a lot of good ones out there, but they're all in it for business.
Yeah.
I grew up, every coach I ever played for, he was in it for the passion and the love of the game.
Amen.
And it wasn't about, he's making, he's making his $500 for coaching the team, whatever, which maybe paid him $1 an hour at best, and again, we've gone away from that whole concept to all of this is everything you do is a money making thing. I mean, from pitching labs to hitting labs to this to that. I mean, we've just turned our sport, into an arena where unless you have money, it's hard to compete in our sport anymore. I mean, this is completely off tangent, but I mean, I believe if God willing, my health holds in there, and I make it 20 more years, you're going to see the white American middle class kid that plays baseball continue. They're going to go on a massively downward trend in professional baseball in the big leagues because the Spanish speaking kids are going to blow right by them. And it's just, there's going to be more of them. There's not as many of our kids willing to pay the price. Heck, we had a kid Remillard kid that played for our championship team in 16. He was a senior and signed. He was, I think, a fifth rounder as a kind of more of a money saver guy or whatever. But, he played 790 games in the minor leagues before he got his big league debut here about month and a half ago. All right. That's like 5.5 years after college.
Right.
How many guys would grind that out? You know, and you guys, Dave, I know you can appreciate this. My wife and I took my oldest grandson's 9, and I took him. We flew up to Chicago and went out on the field and watched BP. And he came over and gave me a big hug, you know. And I told him, I said, man, I said, Zach, I said, just tell me, man, what motivated you? I said, I didn't realize this when I walked in here today, and I said I read it in one of the PR things the White Sox just put out that you played 790 minor league games. I said, I'll be honest with you, I did not realize that. I said, what motivated you to just keep grinding, man? And both of us got tears in our eyes. First him, then me. He goes, Coach, he goes, what you taught me at Coastal, he said, you helped me develop my faith in God. And he said, the work ethic that you all created for me there taught me how to deal with grinding it out every day. And the faith portion gave me belief that God had a plan for me to play in the big leagues one day. And he goes, I could never, ever thank you. He said, I would not be standing here if it wasn't for you. Well, I'm telling you right now, man, my grandson saw me cry for one of the first times in his life, because that was one of the most incredible moments of my life, to be very honest with you. It was that's the part that scares me, where with some of the things we're doing in the world now, that we're missing this piece. You know, we're creating a generation of kids that don't experience these things.
I'm sure Walter's